You love it. We love it. Let's talk a bunch of recruiting today.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back into Locked On Bama, AHSA Radio Network. Luke Robinson, that's me. Bama Online's Jimmy Stein, that's him. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. We'll talk about FanDuel in just a little bit. Want to thank you everydayers for being here every day, and want to thank you newbies for being here today. So, Jimmy, I just thought, hey, let's talk recruiting. I got asked again on the Montgomery show I go on each week about there was a caller who was concerned. He said, I don't know if Kalen DeBoer can recruit in state. And, it's exhausting answering this question over and over again. Now, Alabama had a decommitment, and we'll talk about that in just a little bit. But, there's a lot of positivity surrounding Alabama with in-state guys right now. And as you said, for the thousands and thousands of times in a row, that, yes, Auburn clearly dominated in-state this year. It is also very fair to say that Alabama didn't go head-to-head with them for all of those guys. For a couple of them, they did. And Auburn just won, and kudos, and they deserve the recognition. But Alabama didn't go pursue everybody that Auburn did in state. And, as I said on the radio station again today, Alabama finished either number 2, 3, or 4, depending on the service in the country, ahead of Auburn in every single one of these. And I know that's where this guy's question was coming in. It was originated from a place of, I hate Auburn and want to be better than them. That's where it came from. And because I know that place. And so he asked the question with that in mind. And so my point is, we had a better ranked class than they did. Their class was good. And it was really good. It was great. But ours was greater. And that's okay. It's fine. But Jimmy, please help me out here and alleviate some fears of people who still think this group can't recruit in state while saving the visitor thing, most of the good visitors that we're going to have for the February 1st weekend for the second segment.
Yeah. It's not logical to think that DeBoer is good at recruiting guys from the West Coast or Texas or Florida to come to Alabama, but can't recruit Alabama kids to come to Alabama. That's just illogical. It makes no sense at all. It's just not true. There's not enough of a sample size yet to make sweeping proclamations about anything. Hugh Freeze has been at Auburn for a while. Auburn's he's a good recruiter. We said the day, look right here on this show, the longtime listeners know, the day Hugh Freeze got hired at Auburn, Nick Saban was still at Alabama. Even with Saban still here, we said, hey, get used to it. Hugh Freeze is going to beat Nick Saban for some players. So we said that the day Hugh was hired. Well, Hugh beat Kalen DeBoer for a couple of players. Why should we be surprised at that? We thought he beat Saban for a couple of players. But it wasn't that many. Again, there's a few of those in-state Auburn guys that weren't offered by Alabama, not because Alabama's like, well, we're not going to get him. It's because they didn't come to camp at Alabama and earn an Alabama offer. And that's what they prefer in most cases, not all, but in most cases. So maybe they misevaluated some. Maybe that will prove true. Maybe a couple of kids that Auburn signed in-state will prove to be great players, and Alabama misevaluated their tapes and should have offered them without a camp appearance. But why would you really expend tons of resources recruiting a kid who won't drive 2.5 hours to your camp to meet with the staff and work out with them one day? I mean, if the kid won't make that effort, why should we spend literally thousands and thousands of dollars recruiting them, to say nothing of NIL money and all that? But that's for another day. I just think Kalen DeBoer's results last year speak for themselves. I have zero concern about Kalen DeBoer's ability to recruit. If I have concern, it would just be that there will be some kids priced out of Alabama's range. That concerns me in the sense that it's always a little disappointing not to land somebody you'd like to land but I just accept it as fact that my team is not the New York Yankees of NIL. And that's okay, because I don't know how many World Series the Yankees have won in this century, but it's not a lot. And gosh, I saw a good stat today on this topic real quick. Per a national basketball expert, I think it's Jeff Goodman, I'm not sure, and I'm probably butchering that. A national basketball expert said today, someone with universal credibility, that the 3 basketball teams that spent the most on NIL this year are Indiana, Kansas State, and somebody else.
Arkansas. I saw it. I saw that thing, and you're right. And he said all 3 of them probably won't make the tournament.
Won't even make the NCAA tournament. They're the biggest spenders. And that's what I'm talking about when I say just because you're spending the most doesn't mean that you're signing the best class, doesn't guarantee anything. So I don't let it eat me up. Is it a little disappointing when there's a kid you want to sign, but someone else just has a bigger offer, so your favorite school can't sign them? Yeah, it's disappointing, but I'm not going to lose sleep over it until it becomes 100% obvious that the biggest spenders are doing all the winning. And when people say, yeah, well, look at Texas and, Ohio State, they were in the Final Four. Yeah, but so was Notre Dame and Penn State. They spend no more money than Alabama does. And they were in the Final Four too. So,
and by the way, those biggest spenders, Texas had the easiest schedule of anybody in the Southeastern Conference.
Yep.
They lost to Georgia twice. The best teams Texas played, they lost to.
And Georgia probably spends, I know they spend less. I don't know about substantially less, but Georgia spends less than Texas and beat them twice again. So that's why I don't, die over this like some fans do. I mean, it's a little disappointing, but Alabama's doing fine. Just look at the recruiting rankings.
I mean, and again, I understand by the way, for those who want to listen, the SEC Squad Show, I think will be put out later tonight, and I was on it. So please do feel free to go in, and it'll be listed. By the way, there's some confusion about that. Every time we do an SEC Squad Show, it goes to every SEC channel. Whether an Alabama host or is on it or not is irrelevant. It's going to go to our channel. So when people sometimes pull up and go, hey, this isn't Locked on Bama, it is. It's just part of the SEC thing. So, and I know some people enjoy it, some people don't, and that's fine. It doesn't get as many views as like just you and me together, but I kind of have fun with it. It is fun. I will say this, Stephen Willis, who does the Ole Miss site, and he does a great job with it. He said something on the show the other night, and I want people to tune in, so I won't go too far with it. But he said he doesn't think Kalen DeBoer to be at Alabama past next year. And I was
next
like,
year.
And I said, you think we'll fire him? He said, either you'll fire him or he'll get tired of y'all's stuff. And I was sort of flabbergasted. I think we're unreasonable fans. We're not insane. I think we're unreasonable, sure.
I think if Alabama doesn't make the playoff next year and loses several games, there's going to be the amount of discontent will be terrible and semi-understandable. I also think that after year 2, the administration's not going to bail for any number of reasons, including the buyout would be massive. At the same time, 22% of the athletic budget is wiped out due to a new payroll they're taking on. So it would be a bad time to incur another $66 million, which by the way would be the second biggest buyout in the history of sports on this earth. So it would be a bad time to incur that. So that's my initial reaction is, first of all, I think DeBoer is going to do just fine next year. Secondly, I don't think he would be fired almost no matter what. But I do agree with Steven with this. If it's another year that looks like this year, the noise is going to be loud.
Okay. Fine with you on all that. Understand. He was so sure of himself.
Yep.
Let's talk a little FanDuel. From big upsets to game-winning drives. The NFL playoffs are better at FanDuel. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $200 in bonus bets if you win or if you lose. The FanDuel app gives you everything you need for live bets, same game parlays, and so much more. Visit the website and share betting lines around your league or team. Look, and just get your friends to join in with you. It's so much fun. Just visit FanDuel.com, join today, and get started with $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. I should also add that part in there where I say, invite your friends and all. Yeah. They are telling me in the live read to actually invite my friends and then talk about it. And I just read it off because I'm an idiot. I mean,
is it like say my name? My name is it? Is that what?
Yeah, it's like
state your name, and you said state your name.
Yes, no, it's like when Michael Scott took Dwight to the hospital, and they get there and he's filling out the forms. It says reason for visit, and he said taking friend to the hospital. They're like, not your reason for visit. The reason you brought the guy. Yeah, it's kind of stupid. All right. Now, let's talk about a weekend coming up for Alabama that is going to be monstrous. I mean, and thank you, Andrew Bone and Joseph Hastings, for putting this list together. It's going to be a heck of a weekend on February 1st. That's Junior Day. And look, for those who love the in-staters, here we go. Zion Gibson, who's committed. Anthony Jones, who's a 5-star from Mobile that everybody loves. Tank Jones is what a lot of people know him. Sedarian Morgan, the wide receiver we talk about here all the time from Benjamin Russell, my hometown. Jamarian Matthews, who has gotten a lot of more attention lately from Sparkman. Kamarian Johnson, a defensive lineman from Muscle Shoals, who I don't think's rated by a lot of places, but he's a dude. Jabarius Guerra, who's a 27 guy who's committed to Bama, top 100 edge from Viger, and E.J. Crowell from Jackson, who's the number one running back in the country in 2027. So those are the in-staters, and I'll let you talk about them, then we'll go into the out-of-state guys.
Yeah, we're real excited about the in-state group. And by the way, this list is being put together by Bone and Hastings, and it's not complete. They're still working to confirm others, and you got to contact the kids and their families, their people and stuff. I mean, it's a lot of work that's put into it, and there's still so stay tuned to BOL for further adds to the list. This is just kind of an initial list that's put out by BOL and Andrew and JoJo. I think I'm not saying those are absolutely the very best prospects in the state because the evaluations for the 26 group are ongoing, and guys will blow up like the Muscle Shoals defensive lineman who a month ago, all the listeners and us, we're unfamiliar with the guy, and now everyone's offering him. His name is really out there now and blowing up. There will be names like that throughout the process, particularly the early spring. So there'll be new names even in state, and some guys whose profiles are raised with the staff who's just now, of course, on the road evaluating. But as to specific players, I think the two that everyone has a lot of questions about are Tank Jones and Sedarian Morgan. I mean, I think I get more questions about those two than any other prospects in the state. I think it's going to be an Alabama-Auburn battle for both. Now, they've got big offers from other power programs, and there'll be these big NIL deals and all that. So I'm sure their attention can be swayed by the out-of-state suitors. But I believe, from what we know today, that it's going to come down to Alabama or Auburn for both of those kids. They're both fantastic prospects. I would say about equal prospects, even though they play very different positions. Auburn has an advantage with Sedarian Morgan, due to geography. A lot of pressure on Morgan, I think, to sign with Auburn from locals. That's tough, but Alabama has signed players from that area.
Not all locals are pressuring that way. Just letting you know.
No, and Morgan's family is Alabama. Like Lucas talked about that here. He knows the Alexander City situation really well. It's known the Morgan's family is Alabama fans, and there are Alabama fans in Alexander City. It's not just Morgan's family and Luke, although
it's me and the Morgans. That's it.
It's primarily Luke and the Morgans, but there's others. And as to Tank Jones, he's in Mobile. Mobile tends to be pro-Alabama, but the list of players from Mobile that have signed with Auburn is very long, and don't rule out Auburn there at all. Let me say one thing about NIL. I don't think Auburn spends a lot more than Alabama, but they do spend it a little differently. Auburn is always – it's very important to Auburn and their fans to, quote, beat Alabama. It's very important to them to do so. They'll go big NIL on those kids because they'll want that splashy. Hey, there won't be Jimmy and Luke going, "Oh, we didn't care about Tank Jones or Sedarian Morgan." First of all, we wouldn't say that because we shoot it straight here. But yeah, there's no denying that those are extremely high priority players for Alabama. And if they sign with Auburn, Auburn flat out beat us. So you can see Auburn going big NIL wise there. And basically everyone will, because these are 5-star type talents. It's too early to get all twisted up in rankings, but these are 5-star type talents. I like so many of the guys on the list, Luke. No one really stands out to me as someone I'm loving, but maybe the pass rushers from North Alabama, Marrow, and the kid from Muscle Shoals. You got to prioritize any sort of front seven kid. I think it's imperative that Alabama do well in that area.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Now let's talk about some of the out-of-staters. Lamar Brown, who is from University Lab in Baton Rouge, is literally on the LSU campus.
Yeah, literally.
And I mean, it's called University Lab School. So now he's a 5-star interior lineman. I mean, you got to think LSU is the leader there, but Alabama's going to make them earn it. Elbert Hill, who's a 5-star cornerback from Archbishop in Akron, Ohio. Xavier Griffin, the number 2 linebacker in the country from Gainesville, Georgia. He is committed to USC right now, but I think he's got a lot of love for Alabama, and I think he's originally from Alabama. Isn't that right?
Originally from Alabama and got a home visit from Alabama assistants, and I believe DeBoer has even seen him, even though he's in Florida. Jacksonville? All right. He's in Jacksonville?
Yeah.
And
well, no, he's in Gainesville, Georgia.
Man, Gainesville, Georgia. For whatever reason, when I see Gainesville, I always think, oh, Jacksonville. Okay, Gainesville, Georgia. Yeah, he is originally from Alabama. I believe the Huntsville area, but he got at home visit. Assistants can visit homes this year. That's new. Assistants can make home visits in January. The head coach cannot, but the assistants can. But the head coaches can see these kids in school. For those unaware, because all the rule changes, that bump rule that used to be a big thing during Saban, that's gone. The bump rule's gone. The head coach can visit with these kids at their schools this time of the year, and the in-home visits from assistants. That again, that's new, but a lot of things are changing and opening up these days.
And then just finishing up this list, Sincere Johnson, who's number 5 linebacker from Cincinnati. Braylon Womack, the number 3 safety from Florida.
I love that kid, by the way. Womack, the safety from he played with London Simmons and Hartsfield Academy. Big time.
Jonathan Hatton, who's the number 2 running back, he's committed to Oklahoma out of San Antonio, but I know that he likes Alabama a lot. Max Sutter, we're going to go after some tight ends. It seems like we've signed more tight ends in the last 2 years than we ever have. This guy's from Illinois. Jordan Edmonds, who's a 4-star cornerback from Marietta. Kamari Brooks, a 4-star edge from Bogart, Georgia. Caden Harris from Brownsville, Tennessee, who's a 4-star cornerback. Grant Wise from Pace, Florida, who's an interior lineman. And Vladden Stone, that's who I want.
That's a cool name.
Yeah, he's from Sweden. And I would certainly love to have him. One other
let me ask you
one other note.
While you're looking at the list, Jordan Edmonds, is he the one from Sprayberry? He's a DB from Sprayberry.
I believe that's correct.
Sprayberry High School.
Yeah, let me find. Jordan Edmonds. Yes, he's from Sprayberry.
Yeah, my man Bone, Andrew Bone. I'm getting this from him. I keep an eye on that one. Not like any day now, but I'm just saying Alabama might be in a good spot with him. He's one to watch. Any kid coming to junior day. I just talked about why would Alabama expend a lot of resources on kids that won't come to our camp? These junior day visits are unofficial visits, But this is the kids making an effort. This is them going, hey, I'm so interested. I'm coming on my dime. I'm coming on my free day. This isn't an official visit. I'm so interested. I'm coming to you. Me and my folks and our expense. So that's why these junior days are big. It's not just that Alabama has invited you. It's that the kids making the effort. This means it doesn't mean you're going to get them, Luke. It means that these kids are serious about you, or they wouldn't be going there. And, it's reasonable to be optimistic about every kid that's at junior day because they're not going to visit every single school that's out there. Alabama's recruiting kids that have many options in most cases.
And then there's Jared Curtis. Now, he's not coming to junior day, apparently. This is a kid out of Tennessee who named Alabama in his top 6. I think he's probably the top quarterback in the 26 class, right, Jimmy?
Yeah, to my knowledge. He'd certainly be the guy I would name if anybody asked me, like, who's the best quarterback in 26? I mean, first name comes to mind for me is Jared Curtis. His film is fantastic. His finalists, Alabama's among his 6 finalists.
Alabama, Georgia, Auburn, Ohio State, Oregon, and South Carolina. No Tennessee.
Yeah, that is a little surprising. No Tennessee. He was once committed to Georgia, now is seriously considering recommitting to Georgia again. I would just say that if you've got Alabama, Georgia, Oregon, and Ohio State as schools you could commit to, and he can, you're good. Those are 4 of the very big boys when it comes to quarterback recruiting in 2025. They're only interested in the badasses, to be honest. And heck, the only thing I'm surprised when I looked at that list, I'm like, hey, Jared, where's Texas? I mean, that's about the only one that's missing in terms of, for lack of a better word, the sexy landing spots for quarterbacks right now.
You haven't had any problem hearing me on this pod, have you?
I hear you just fine.
Okay. I just wanted to be sure because you have sort of paused occasionally with me, and I don't know if that's you or me. I don't know how that's working, and I hope it's coming through clear for everybody else because we have been on like a good roll of good internet, and so I hope it continues. Okay. Now, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to tell you about Alabama's decommitment. All right, I'm going to tell you about PrizePicks because they're back in the fold. Happy to have PrizePicks back. Love PrizePicks. And I think if this ever pulls up, now I'm beginning to think it is my internet. This message is brought to you by PrizePicks, the place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions in winnings, PrizePicks has changed the game in daily fantasy sports, whether it's the playoffs or regular season. PrizePicks has made it easier than ever to win big while enjoying all of that sweet, sweet football action. Now it's playoff time, and there's no better way to get in on the action than with PrizePicks. Here's how it works. You simply pick more or less on at least 2 players, and if your picks hit, you could win up to 1,000 times your cash. That's right, 1,000 times your money. That's all you got to do. Ready to run your game this football season? Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege. You get $50 instantly after you play the first $5 lineup. That's right. $50 just for playing. Don't wait. Take your game to the next level with PrizePicks. PrizePicks, run your game, yo. So Broc Willis has decommitted from Alabama. This is a kid, a 4-star kid out of Moody. I'm beginning to hear rumblings he may be transferring to another school, and that school may be, something like a Prattville type thing. I've just heard some rumblings. I have no idea if any of this has validity. This is a conjecture, but I don't think it wouldn't be crazy.
Rumored. That's out there.
We're not spreading the rumor. We're reporting a rumor.
We're reporting.
Is that different?
There's chatter out there about him transferring high schools, but I don't know that it's true. So we ought, or I don't know a destination, so I don't think we ought to contribute to the rumor mongering. Huh. I've heard it.
Have we already done it?
Have we? Yeah, I guess.
Have we already done it?
Really. I wouldn't say we put a log on the fire, but we may have put some grass blades on it.
Okay. Grass doesn't light very well, by the way. That's why you don't ever go to a barbecue at Jimmy's house.
Yeah, I wouldn't know.
I can't get this grass
Literally,
to light.
The last time I did grill out, I couldn't get the Insta-Light charcoal to light. So that should tell you.
So Broc Willis, whether he's at Moody or somewhere else next year, he's got 2 more years to play, by the way. That's the one thing. He committed on June 30th, I think it was, of this summer. And you and I said then, celebrate, but not really.
That early, to me, I just think of him as leans. And the fact that he decommitted, to me, he's still lean. It's still an Alabama lean to me. It was a lean when he committed. He's probably still an Alabama lean right now. There's just no reason to get all super concerned about it. He's just a high-profile, high-priority target that Alabama's recruiting in the 27 group, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and look, he may get back in the fold. I mean, we just talked about Jared Curtis, who is probably the number 1 quarterback in 26 class, decommitted from Georgia. He may go back to Georgia. Shoot, King Mack left Penn State to come to Alabama, transferring back to Penn State. By the way, is it Harrison Wallace, who's the wide receiver for Penn State that's from Pike Road? He's in the transfer.
That's interesting. I mean, again, I think I'll be a little surprised if Alabama signs anyone that's in the portal right now. I think Alabama might be waiting on the spring portal. We don't know that. Things could change. But as of this moment, that's what it feels like to me.
But if you told me that Alabama can get a receiver that he was one of Penn State's leading receivers. And what's so funny is, like earlier this year, I remember he was announced. I don't remember him in Alabama high school. I usually remember these guys. I just don't remember him. And so I know he was one of the leading receivers for Penn State, and that's great. That's it would be an interesting pickup if Alabama were to take him.
Oh, no doubt. And, any connection that Alabama has with, there's all sorts of like we talked about the kid from Gainesville, Georgia, that I said was from Jacksonville, Florida. The kid from Gainesville, Georgia, Elijah Griffin, who is a big-time kid. The fact that he was originally from Huntsville, the staff knows this stuff. It's amazing. They know all, and there's all sorts of kids out there like that.
It's not Elijah Griffin. He is from Georgia, and he signed. You're talking about, who the heck are you even talking? Now you're talking about Jordan. No, you're talking about.
I'm talking about the 20. I meant to be talking about the 26 kid, but I ended up talking about the 25 defensive lineman kid that did sign with Georgia, right?
Yeah. Who the heck were you talking about? I don't know who you're talking about.
I meant to talk about the new.
Oh, you're talking about Xavier Griffin. That's Xavier Griffin.
I said Elijah. I think I said Elijah because
you said Elijah Griffin. I was like, wait a minute.
Well, for the past year, every time I said Griffin, I preceded it with Elijah. That's an easy one to mess up.
I mean, that is an easy thing to mess up, but you're my recruiting expert. Here you are screwing up my podcast.
I used to make fun of my, when I was a kid, my dad would mix up names. I'd be like, what's he talking about? And now I'm like, yep, now I do it.
Let me end this with a story. My dad told me the other day, and it's like y'all don't know how crazy Alex City was for a while. It was just awesome. It was like a sitcom. And my dad was at the center of it. But he was telling me the other day, he said, we asked about somebody because we were telling a different story about a different guy that used to work at Willow Point as a bartender. And he was like, oh, I remember him. That's what's his name? That's the guy that I bet Steve that his $100 that his teeth were real. And I said, wait, what? And he said, yeah. He said, Steve said, I probably should edit that out. He said the pro said that his teeth were real. I mean, his teeth were fake. He said they're too white. He said they look too good. Nobody has teeth like that. And my dad said they're his real teeth. And so they were like, well, let's bet on it. So they bet $100 on it. And then they said, the pro said, well, how you going to prove it? And he said, I'll tell him to come over here. So he came over there, and Dad took a napkin and pulled on his teeth to see if they'd come off. And they didn't. So he got $100 and he gave him 50 of it. I mean, I was like, what is wrong with y'all?
I'm not reaching in. I mean, that's pretty.
This was the 70s, man. It was anything goes.
That was an assault. Reach into some man's mouth.
But I mean, it was just so funny to me.
It's still funny.
He said I said, how did you prove it? He said, well, I just took a napkin and I put my fingers between his teeth, and I just yanked on him, and nothing came out. And he said I said, what'd he do? He said he sort of jerked his head because I pulled his teeth out. And he said, but he was down for it because I gave him 50 of it.
I heard
It's a good way to make $50.
I heard a good 6-minute joke the other day. It's like a 6-minute joke. I heard it the other day. We'll save it for the silly season. We have like a segment that's like 6 minutes long. We're like, hey, what are we going to talk about? I'm like, I got the perfect joke to fit this. It's a 6-minute joke. I can pull it off.
It wasn't that Norm Macdonald one on Conan O'Brien, was it? I know that one.
No comment.
Okay.
It might have been.
All right. That's going to do it for today's podcast. We'll be back tomorrow with more. Until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide.